Welcome to Tekedia Daily. I'm Ndubuisi, Ekekwe. Our conversation today will focus on the future of global fund remittance. Essentially, we're trying to ascertain how the future of moving money across international borders will look like. Let me just begin by looking at the whole construct of what many companies are doing, especially in Africa. If you look at what Visa and MasterCard, these are the main companies, I would say, are very, very highly integrated in the payment ecosystem in the continent, making sure that banks are adopting the technologies that banks are building upon their platforms. Merchants are using their systems in order for them to drive payments in the continent. But as they are doing these things, they are also making sure they do not essentially disrupt the Visa and MasterCard networks, will remain very critical in their revenue. I call that a hangover because they don't want to move into the future. Because if they move into the future, they are going to lose a significant amount of revenue doing that. But there is something that is happening, and that is that technology is going to change a lot of things the way we know them today. One of the most premier cards in the world is what they call the Black Card, which is offered by American Express, the Amex. The Black Card is something that looks like an invitation-only card. You have to be a very rich card before they can actually allow you to get that card. But the simple fact is this, that there is nothing there. It's a card. It has dollars. You have to use it to buy something. Yes, of course, there are other benefits associated with it. But in the era of virtual world, in the era of buying things online, in the era of e-commerce, not many people really care whether you have loaded a Black Card credit card number or whether you have loaded a simple Amazon credit card number. Provided that it can enable people to shop, that is all that matters. So the internet has essentially commoditizes that luxury, that affluence, cards like Black Card used to give to some of these rich guys. So as we see this thing, internet just figures out how to actually diminish some of the things that people have found to be very, very useful, to be very, very prestigious, and to be very, very exciting in their lives. Now I've called this thing the diminishing internet abundance. You may think that you are going into the internet to make a lot of money. And you quickly realize that the internet is actually going to destroy value for every other person, including you. And I give an example. The money that the telecommunication companies are losing because of Skype, it's not necessarily Skype that is actually getting that money. What happens is this, that Skype does not get all the money because Skype is free. While the telecommunication companies that you would have actually made a call if there is no Skype has lost money. Of course, you must have also benefited because you can use that money to do other things. But these two companies have actually not necessarily transferred that money from one particular company to the other. But you can do this thing thinking, hey, I'm going into the internet, I'm going to have more users, and I'm going to make more money. That is not the case. So the focus of conversation today is looking at what American Express and a company called Ripple. Ripple is a San Francisco-based company that focuses on building blockchains, especially tailored for remittance across international borders. So American Express now has started using it to move funds from United States to Britain. Last year also I have written that Circle, a company funded through funding from Goldman Sachs, is also doing the same thing. But the cool thing about the Circle one is that you don't even have to make any payment as a fee for that money to be moved from United States to England and vice versa. So they have gone into the state where you can make international remittance without actually paying any fee. And this is the real fact. where the internet is going to end. The whole construct of the web is that one day, in a perfect internet market, we are going to have a capacity to have everything to be free, because digital products are designed largely to be free on the internet. And the blockchain is going to move us closer to that perfect internet market. And as we're doing that, we're also seeing what they are doing in Bitcoin. Bitcoin is what they call a cryptocurrency, where people are using digital money to pay for things. And it looks extremely complicated now, and it has a lot of geeky aspect of it right now. But Square, the payment processing company, has now figured out how to make it possible that people using this mobile application called Cash can technically buy and sell using Bitcoin. Now, I've been saying this, that within the next 2 years, companies like Google, Facebook, or Amazon will make it possible that people can trade on Bitcoin, just like the way people use their credit card numbers to buy things. And when they have brought it into that domain, removing all the complexity that makes it extremely difficult for average people to use today, this product will take off. So I expect companies to start giving Bitcoin credit and debit cards. And just when you have it, what do you do? Just put a number, so swap it, and all of a sudden you are paid with Bitcoin. So the world is changing, and we are going into that payment ecosystem where funding, payment is going to move at a zero state. And that means that our remittance will end up becoming technically free. And this is actually the conversation, because in Africa, we're going to have a lot of implications to this, because if Visa and MasterCard, they continue what they're doing, of course, MasterCard has also filed a patent on blockchain-based international money transfer. But of course, American Express has launched a product. So Amex is actually at a higher phase. And if in the continent, if you are building some of these products thinking, hey, I'm going to make a lot of money for them in the next 10 years, I just want to tell you, you may be very, very unlucky. Because you can't compete with free, and you can't compete with something that is technically very, very free. So African Express is not really very big in Africa, because we do not have the kind of demographics in terms of economic power of the typical customer of American Express. But American Express is actually a company that seems to understand what the future, and is very good in adopting new technology as quickly as possible. I think it really positions itself that if there is someone there who wants to actually take a risk and now begin to see how to strike a partnership to make it possible to move funds from United States to Nigeria or Kenya, Ethiopia, and other parts of Africa, using this blockchain, you can actually find a very, very great product in the market. It is going to provide a new basis of competition, far ahead of what Visa and MasterCard, what they're doing. Because these two companies, Visa and MasterCard, are just doing everything to protect their networks, because that is where they make a lot of money. They want to continue to tax merchants, paying those percentage of fees over transactions made through their networks. But that is not the business of the future. And I don't see these companies, unless they begin to redesign the structure of their businesses, they will have difficulties competing in this age. American Express is the future. It has a product on the market, and that is certainly what Africa needs. You may be very, very lucky if they can help you work towards it, because blockchain-based transfer is going to take us into a zero-fee remittance world. And when you do that, you're moving into a world of a perfect internet. You are listening to Tekedia Daily. Thank you.